July 14th, 1988. Conor McGregor is born. A little baby Conor McGregor, to be exact. And he come out of his mother with clenched fists, according to his dad, who said he'd always been a fighter. His mum wasn't able to see that, she was a bit busy at the time. But he was born and raised in Crumlin, which is sort of known for being a bit of a rough city, but the locals say it's fine, don't worry about it. As a kid, Conor seemed like any other Irish lad, you know, loved football, supported Man United. But when he turned 12, that was where his love of fighting started. That was when young Conor would walk into Crumlin Boxing Club. And this is where he would meet a man called Phil Sutcliffe. Now Phil would later become his boxing coach, and he was the one nightmare for everyone. But unfortunately for Conor, at 17, his family would move to Lucan, which was considered to be a more desirable area. But for him, that meant leaving the gym, and with that, all of his friends. Now, many people know Conor's dad in MMA. Tony is a charismatic dude. He is a sharp dresser, but what they might not know is back in the day, he was a hard-working man. I mean, he was taxi driving, he was a hospital orderly, and he encouraged Conor to go and get himself an honest job. Conor ended up in a plumbing apprenticeship, which meant every morning he'd be waiting by the side of the motorway to get picked up, taken to site, and installing pipes.
We drive 2 hours in the traffic all the way to the site, and it was just a rough time for me, and I knew that I did not want to pursue this life. So I left and I quit, and I went home and I told my father, I said, there's not a hope in hell you're going to ever get me back. It was just a rough time for me, and I knew that I did not want to pursue this life.
He's throwing money at him, please go do your apprenticeship, go to college, and I'll give you 10 grand. He offered him 10 grand to do it. He turns his quilt over, I'm not going. It was just a rough time for me, and I knew that Tony McGregor pretty angry.
And he essentially said, we'll see about that, and we had many fights. Although I may have lost the fights we had, but essentially I won because I did not go back to the building.
Now, as you can imagine, Conor was pretty disillusioned. We know the man now, he wasn't good to settle for that.
We'll see about that, and we had many fights. Although I may have lost the fights
and the man he turned was John Cameron. Now, we first met John at 15 years old when he was a student. Paddy Houlihan said he rocked up with crazy haircut, boxer shorts on, and a boxer's angry face. He wasn't there to become part of the family. He wanted to compete. He wanted to fight with a bit of sparring, a bit of grinding from John Cameron.
It's easy for people to
they
on the outside.
Understanding that they could really help each other. The more Conor went to the gym and learned everything, the more he wanted to go. Whereas it was the exact opposite with work. I mean, he had no interest.
I feel when it comes to it all, it's easy for people to look in from the outside, but when you put it all together, it comes to it all, it's easy for people to look in from the outside.
It's the N-O-T-O-R-R-O.
When you put it all together, not just the weigh-ins, not just the fight, all of the other stuff. You're damn right the C in the UFC stands for Conor.
28 years of age, I'm getting fight checks and promoter checks. As far as the fight, he will be unconscious inside 4 rounds. Surprise, surprise, motherfucker! Conor McGregor!
July 14th, 1988. Conor McGregor is born. A little baby Conor McGregor, champion? Exactly. You have to fight with me. And he come out of his mother with clenched fists, according to his dad, who said he'd always been a fighter. His mum wasn't able to see that, she was a bit busy at the time. But he was born and raised in Crumlin, which is sort of known for being a bit of a rough city, but the locals say it's fine, don't worry about it. As a kid, Conor seemed like any other Irish lad, you know, loved football, supported Man United. But when he turned 12, that was where his love of fighting started.
Showed his real character in losing and then coming back.
That was when young Conor would walk into Crumlin Boxing Club. And this is where he would meet a man called Phil Sutcliffe. Now Phil would later become his boxing coach, and he was the one who taught Conor how to switch stances and a lot of the skills that would eventually make Conor a nightmare for everyone. But unfortunately for Conor, at 17, his family would move to Lucan, which was considered to be a more desirable area. But for him, that meant leaving the gym, and with that, all of his friends. Now, many people know Conor's dad in MMA. Tony is a charismatic dude. He is a sharp dresser. But what they might not know is back in the day, he was a hard-working man. I mean, he was taxi driving, he was a hospital orderly, and he encouraged Conor to go and get himself an honest job. Conor ended up in a plumbing apprenticeship, which meant every morning he'd be waiting by the side of the motorway to get picked up, taken to site, and installing pipes.
We drive 2 hours in the traffic all the way to the site, and it was just a rough time for me, and I knew that I did not want to pursue this life. So I left and I quit, and I went home and I told my father, I said, there's not a hope in hell you're going to ever get me back on that building site again.
And it got to the point where his dad goes up the stairs, he's throwing money at him, please go do your apprenticeship, go to college, I'll give you 10 grand. He offered him 10 grand to do it. He turns his quilt over, nah dad, I'm not going, it's not for me. It's rumoured at that point Tony McGregor got pretty angry.
And he essentially said, we'll see about that, and we had many fights. Although I may have lost the fights we had, but essentially I won because I did not go back to the building site.
Now, as you can imagine, Conor was pretty disillusioned. I mean, we know the man now, he wasn't going to settle for that lifestyle, let's be honest. So he really needed someone to turn to, and the man he turned to was John Kavanagh. Now, we first met John at 15 years old when he walked into his gym, and Paddy Houlihan said he rocked up with a crazy haircut, boxer's shorts on, and a boxer's angry face. He wasn't there to become part of the family, he wanted to compete, he wanted to fight. With a bit of sparring and a bit of grinding from John Kavanagh, they worked up an understanding that they could really help each other a lot. The more Conor went to the gym and learned MMA, the more he wanted to go. Whereas it was the exact opposite with work. I mean, he had no interest in becoming a plumber at all. Conor then threw himself completely into the sport of MMA. He had his first fight. I mean, he rocked up in beat shots, but he still beat the living hell out of the other guy. And the power is clear as day to see in that first video. Second fight, the confidence is coming now, the movement is coming. He is growing as a fighter every day. He meets his idol, Chuck Liddell at UFC 85 in London. Things could be going better from a career standpoint, but behind the scenes, it's still not looking good.
Suspended, he hasn't fought in 2 years. He's obviously lost millions of dollars. What more?
In his next fight, Conor would lose by submission, which definitely brought him down a peg or two. Then things went from bad to worse. Conor took some tickets that were set aside for John Kavanagh, sold them, spent the money on himself, which basically meant he was stealing from his own coach. It came out, Conor wouldn't even face John Kavanagh. He was so ashamed of what he'd done, he'd barely get out of bed. The only way this relationship was repaired was by Conor's mom going and begging John Kavanagh, please give him another chance. And that's what got Conor back in the game. Now, we've all seen the relationship John and Conor have. I mean, they're like brothers, you know, but it feels like this point in their relationship was the turning point after reading this quote, which says, his mother was worried. Her name was Margaret, my mother's Margaret too. And it was one of the first times, maybe the first time, that a parent had reached out to me. It got me thinking, maybe I've got a bigger role here than punching and kicking. Maybe I'm doing a bit more for them than I thought. And I guess I started to realise that a lot of people get into fighting for the same reasons I do. It's not for the fight, they are dealing with something in their childhood. Conor pissed John off, so John just pinned him down, pummeled the fuck out, and made him promise he was there to learn to fight and not for street money. The fact is, everyone looks at Conor McGregor now as Mr. Success in fighting. He's got so much money, but back then, he was a bum. Like, he couldn't even afford training gear, and he needed someone to partner him on his journey. And they say behind every successful man, there's an even better woman.
That for me was a special thing to be able to do. My girlfriend worked very hard throughout the years, coming up and stuck by me when essentially I had absolutely nothing.
She's tall, she's brunette, she's beautiful. She's got like a girl next door face and like a really nice smile. She's got hips on her, but she's slim and she's in great shape. Like, despite Conor being such an outspoken, nasty piece of work at times, she calms him. She's the warmth, the care, and the love when he is acting outrageous, you know? She seems like the type of lass who you could be all ready to fight and rip someone's head off, and she could just calm you right down. No problem. So the first time he sees her, gets her attention in the nightclub, starts cracking the jokes out, you know, getting her laughing, as you do. She gets home, next morning wakes up, friend request from Conor McGregor. Smooth, Conor. Real smooth. Before you know it, Dave's moved into the house with Conor's mum and dad and is staying with Conor 24/7. She's helping him with her money from her job. She's looking after him in every way possible. She's taking him to the gym as a taxi service. She's cooking for him, cleaning for him. She is his confidant. Conor battled so long